Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating in a time of COVID. I mean, no, that's not what our entire podcast is about, but we are dating in a time of COVID right now.
Hey, it's about modern dating, and that's where we're at, right? Modern dating
Yes.
took another turn, as it always gives us those twists and turns.
Always keeps us on our toes,
Oh,
doesn't
yeah, it
it?
does.
But we are stoked this week because we have some Dateable listeners coming to San Francisco. They're doing a little meetup from all over the country, actually, as far as the East Coast. And Julie and I are meeting up with some of them for dinner tomorrow night. That's going to be so fun to see everyone in real life.
It's amazing. So it's a group from the sounding board, and I mean, some of them have been talking since March.
Yeah.
In happy hours, virtual happy hours in our Facebook group. We started doing happy hours. It was actually Swanee, one of our moderators' ideas to do happy hours. And I think it exceeded all our expectations. We didn't really know what we were going to get into, if anyone would show up. And I think we hit people at a time where everyone really needed that connection too. And we've evolved into the sounding board where now people are like bearing their souls to each other. And I feel like the people that are about to meet probably know more about each other and their love lives and personal lives than maybe some of their closest friends even. So it is amazing just how much you can get to know people virtually. And I had the pleasure of meeting up with one of our moderators, Shieldy, who is kind of
Love
the one
her.
that organized this entire trip too. It's her idea to come out. And she matched 100% virtually. What she was IRL was 100% who she was virtually. So it is quite amazing how much rapport you can build with people. And we definitely screeched a little on the street when we saw each other.
Oh, no bait and switch with Shieldy. She's authentically herself virtually and in person. I can't wait to meet her. I just can't wait to meet everyone just to see them in the flesh. What in a crazy world.
So when Shieldy and I were at brunch, she said to me today, she's like, did you ever expect this? That the podcast would lead to this? Mm-hmm. And I said, no, not at all.
Never.
But I'm so thankful it did. And I think ultimately this is a podcast about dating and relationships. In the romantic sense is kind of how we started. But a lot of this is rooted on friendship, on, all the connections in your lives. I think for both of us, having each other even helped us through our romantic journeys. And I think all the folks in the sounding board that have really become friends, really close friends, it's done the same for them. And I think dating is a lot easier when you do have that network of people that, one, have your back, but also that your entire identity isn't around dating. You have a life essentially that's filled with love, even if it's not in the romantic capacity while you're on your search for that.
You got to fill your cup in some way. And if it's not romantically, you can fill it in other ways. Mm-hmm. I asked to someone this question who is a therapist, and I asked her, do you ever get just drained from a day of seeing clients? And she's like, first and foremost, I have to make sure my self-care is prioritized. I'm surrounded by good people and a good support system. And then I can take on clients. If I'm not in a good headspace, I actually cancel my appointments.
Oh, wow.
That's really good to hear because, you got to help yourself before you help others. And that's when you're in your best self anyway. So I really appreciate that sentiment. And I think this group just shows that this is such a fact in today's world where a lot of us are struggling. But if you feel like you're surrounded by people who truly support you and have your best interest at heart, then you're going to share that love with the rest of the world.
I think also even when you do find that person, it's a lot to put it all on one person, your entire
Yeah.
happiness and interest. I think to expect someone wants to do exactly what you want to do at all times and can fill every, void you have, it's a lot of pressure for someone. So I think having other outlets and people to talk to, that's why I never understand the people that drop their friends as soon as they're in a relationship. I just don't understand it. I think it's clearly you want to make room for the new person in your life, but it doesn't mean that people that you've built relationships with for 10 plus years just like, oh, I don't need you anymore. Like, I don't understand why that thought process would even go through people's minds. And I think it's just so important to have a healthy relationship, that you have all these different people that you can have relationships with.
And we are going through some major changes in our lives, and it's so fun to be in each other's lives when we go through these changes. One of them is, if you are watching this on YouTube, you'll see that both Julie and I are different places than normal. I'm at my parents' house, so I've got all of our family photo albums behind me, dating all the way back to the 80s. But Julie is at her new apartment.
Yes,
What?
I know. I finally found a place for people that have heard. I think I brought up how dating is like real estate a while ago, and I've been looking for a place since January. And anyone that's in the home market knows how insane it is been in 2020. There's reasons why people want to get on the train in 2020, but sorry, 2021. I'm like, what year are we even in?
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like
No
things
idea.
skyrocketed in 2021. And anyone that's, anyone that's tried to buy a home or bought a home in this time period knows how insane it's been. There's clearly benefits of doing it right now from the pandemic, but everyone's kind of on it to get those benefits. So it became a complete clusterfuck, basically. And I think what's interesting, I'll relate this back to dating, I promise, is that I went in with maybe unrealistic expectations of what I wanted for my price range. And I basically got nothing that I was essentially looking for when I first started. I mean, okay, that's a lie. There were some things that I was unwilling to, they were deal breakers. I was unwilling to budge on, and that was location and an open, nice kitchen. Those were the two things I was completely unwilling to budge on. And I also realized, throughout the time looking, that outdoor space was important to me. That was something that wasn't necessarily on my radar when I first started looking. But I feel like besides that, got nothing else that I was looking for. And I think
Except for a feeling. You got a feeling.
Exactly. I got a feeling. I think that's why I'm tying it back to dating, is I think it's important to have a couple things that you're unwilling to budge on. You need to have some standards, but I think sometimes people can surprise you and things can surprise you, and you can show up in something I'll say in the sense of a home, or someone in the sense of dating, may not be what you were expecting, but ends up being what's perfect for you and ultimately what feels like home.
Yes, and it's just like dating as well. I'm sure you looked at a shit ton of photos of homes.
Oh my God,
on Redfin
yes.
and all those websites. And it's so easy to see which ones probably get a lot of swipes and likes.
Oh, yes.
Because they're presented beautifully, they're staged well, and then they get overbid by like $200,000.
Oh my God. Yep.
Right? But then you look at some and you're like, there is potential.
Yes.
This person doesn't know how to take photos of their home. The lighting is not great. It's not staged well, but I see good bones in this home. And there's no bidding war on this one yet because I see the potential in it. So there are a lot of parallels. It's really funny.
Oh, absolutely. In some places you think are going to be amazing and you show up and it looks like a complete dump. The photos are totally different, for better or for worse. There's a lot of parallels with the dating apps.
The crazy thing in real estate is they can do virtual staging. So it's kind of like when people use filters for their photos. So you see on the photos, you see like beautiful staging, and then you get there's no furniture because it's all virtually done. So it's kind of like when people, doctor up their photos, and you're like, who? And then you see them in person, and you're like, wait, You look nothing like the photos. They're like, I
No.
did some virtual staging on my face.
Well, I'm super excited. Yue will be the first person besides my boyfriend to see the place.
Yay.
So you may be the last of my friends in California to meet my current partner, but you will be the first to see my new place.
Yeah, so I average out to be just okay.
But I'm very excited to see you. I feel like clearly super excited to meet all of our listeners that are traveling all over. But I've been with my current partner for 5 months. And
Yeah.
you haven't met him. I think we started dating last time you were out. We've
Maybe.
gone on one or 2 dates, I think. So
Maybe.
I probably haven't seen you though for 4 or 5 months.
Oh,
Which is
no,
nuts.
it's been longer. I think it's been longer. I haven't been back in a really long time. But I'm so excited to be back, and I get to catch up on Julie's life. Excuse me. All right. So this episode, enough about us. Let's get to this episode. I'm sure you've heard the build up. We have Shan Boodram, or Shan Booty, as some people would like to call her. She is phenomenal. You might have seen her on TV. You might have seen her on YouTube. You might have seen her on Instagram. She is everywhere because that girl is blowing up for a really great reason. She was such a wonderful interview, and we were trying to schedule this interview for a long time when we finally did. And she's one of those people who lived up to what you expected her to be. Maybe she surpassed my expectations. She was so sweet, but like
so nice.
So
Yes.
nice and so fucking down to earth. Like that girl has
yeah.
no ego about her. She's like, girls, let's just talk, like let's just be homies here. So I really enjoyed our talk with her.
Absolutely. She has been on our list for a long time as one of the dream guests, the people that we really wanted to interview, just because one, has a lot of really interesting perspectives. So I think that and alone. And also I feel like sex is such like historically what we've had with sex is so terrible. So I love this emergence of all these sexologists and people that are really, giving the 2021 view on sex. And I think it's so important. And we talk about sex, but we also talk about just she has a lot around flirting and desirability and like playing the game, but not playing the game. It's ultimately being authentic, but it's doing all the things you kind of need to do, but in an authentic way. And we talk about on the episode, like we both struggle with the word flirting so much because
yes.
it feels so fake to us. But I think we do it without realizing we're doing it. I think I caught myself a couple times being like, oh, I guess I am flirting more than I thought. I think it's just how you perceive flirting. So I love how we got into all that of just how can you, create that connection ultimately on dates, because a lot of it is how you come off and, the sexual vibe that you're giving. Even if you're not having sex, there's an indication of sex appeal that is on dates, like it or not.
And what I love about her is that we're changing our definition of what an expert is. Years ago, an expert is someone who has their PhD, who's like 60 years old, telling you
Dr.
what
Ruth.
sex, telling you what sex should be like and like how to flirt. And you're like, wait, you're my grandma's age. How am I supposed to take this advice from you? Shan is totally different. She's a millennial. She has her degrees, but she's also living all of her theories and perspectives. So she's kind of testing it out for us in her own marriage and relaying the results with us. So you feel more like you're related. She's much more relatable than some of those 6-year-old 6-year-old experts.
Absolutely. I think what I love too, and we'll get into all of it in the episode, is we touch on all the stages of a relationship, from the early meeting all the way to now what she's going through with her partner, having a baby, and how do you bring that desirability and sexuality into the picture when your life changes so much. And I think that's been a theme of this season, especially when we did the interview with Emily Nagoski too, of just, there's different seasons, there's different changes that come that relate to our romantic and sex lives, or our relationships and sex lives that, sometimes don't even have to do with finding a partner. It's just life gets in the way, or
Yes.
life exists, or not even gets in the way, but evolves. And I think sometimes, I thought it was super interesting. It's like sometimes you think like, oh, when you get married, have children, your sex life dies. And she basically showed us that that's not always the case. Okay.
Awesome.
So announcements. I think there was a big one last week.
Huge one. And it's not that Julie and I got engaged. Can we just clarify?
I really
Yes.
want to like Photoshop mock up some photos so bad. But
Yes, some people did think that, right? And we had to squash those rumors. That's still coming, but
it is about finding your person. And yes, I did find you a lot.
but then she found someone else.
Hey, you found someone else first. If we're
Fair.
playing that game, it's okay. We're poly. It's all good. We're not really poly, but
In our minds, we are.
The new relationship. We're like non-sexual poly, not the.
I think that's just called friendship.
We're at a different level, deeper level.
Much deeper level, much deeper level. But yes, we announced our Finding Your Person program. Are we settled on that name? I think program.
I don't know.
right?
I still kind of like adventure, because I think there is an adventure. But yes, I think it ultimately is you and I as your guides to kind of get into the right mindset. And it's a kind of a combination of what we've heard, it's a combination of, over the last 5 years, we've been really trying to pinpoint what are those common themes of people that we see find their person and evolve. And we also looked at ourselves, because we've clearly been on this journey ourselves
yes.
well. But I think the commonalities that we've seen from all the people we've talked to, and we've also pinpointed in ourselves, is this balance of positivity, reflection, and action. And sometimes you can swing too much on one side versus another. And it really is that balance in the sweet spot. And that's what we've been working on, is coming up with what that balance and sweet spot is, and putting this all into, this guided program with the two of us that you have access to through audio, through workbooks, through chats, even with us. Like, there's going to be a lot included in this. And we're really confident that this is our best material yet. And we are so excited, because we know a lot of people, I would gamble to say most of the people listening to Dateable, but not all, are trying to ultimately find their person. And that's really what we want for all of you. We want people to be in happy, healthy relationships. We don't want people to be writing on our Facebook group wondering why this person hasn't called them back, or, debating all these little things that ultimately don't matter. Because when you find that person, that stuff doesn't even come into effect. And I think that's really where we are confident that all of you are incredible people, and so introspective, so genuine. Like, we've had the pleasure of meeting so many of you virtually this year, and we've seen it firsthand. And we just want to provide all the info we have so we can help you.
But there are only two of us, so that is a reality, and we are only able to take a limited number of folks into this program: adventure, guide, navigator. Well, I'm just going to say all the names from now on.
Spiritual journey. We will be doing ayahuasca together. I'm just kidding. We're not.
I'd be down. Julie would not be down, but I'd be down. That is optional. It's not part of the course, but it is optional if you want to do that before you get into this.
You can do that on your own time. Yeah. No,
That would be a wild time.
I actually think it would be super fun. I do want to try it sometime, but.
You think it would be fun?
I think so. To have like the revelations that you have from it, I think.
Oh,
really
okay. I've never heard anybody describe it as fun. It's a lot. It's deep.
Anyways, ayahuasca not included in this, but it
a little
will
off
be.
track on that. But we are taking a handful of people into this program, and that's why we've released this early bird wait list, so that you have first access to the registration link when we launch with it. We are still buttoning up what this entire offering is, including the timeline, including the price point, all of that. That's all in the works. But get on this early bird wait list right now, because when we when we release the registration link, you will have first access and basically guarantees you a spot before we release it to anybody else.
Yep. So this will also alert you to the 6-part video series that we're launching. So get on the wait list. It's findingyourperson.com, straight to the point. Findingyourperson.com. We were debating names and we said, what better name than just Finding Your Person? Because ultimately that's what it is.
And it's bonkers that URL is available.
I know.
And we
it's
snatched it up.
Meant to be.
We found our person in a domain. And then if you have any questions, a lot of you have been DMing us on Instagram. Perfect. Do that. We love answering those questions you may have and give you a little bit of, personal attention if you want any of those questions answered.
And we also did a Facebook Live in the Dateable Love in the Time of Corona Facebook group. That's our public group open to all. And if you aren't in that yet, go on over. It's pinned to the top. You can watch that live. Even though it's not live, you could always catch it. And plus, it's a really great place to be. So, Love in the Time of Corona by the Dateable Podcast. We are keeping the name until COVID is over, and then we'll evaluate. We thought we were going to be able to make the switch. Guess again.
Someone blamed us for COVID because our name, the name of the group. And they're like, you can't change it now. And that's why COVID's still going. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Also, I feel like Love in the Time, as much as I want to take credit for that, that's a very common name, Love in the Time of Corona.
Very. That's why we have so many people joining other groups thinking it's ours, but it's really not. But yes, you should join Love in the Time of Corona by Dateable Podcast, and also what we alluded to earlier, the sounding board. We won't go into that for this episode, but you can find out all the information on the sounding board at dateablepodcast.com/sounding board.
Yeah, there's a really good convo that's happening, one of our virtual, happy hours that have evolved into so much more about the decision to have kids this week. So there's some good stuff in there.
Always such good material.